A warm, warm welcome to each of you. My name is Dhammadīpā. I'm so glad to be back with you after a number of weeks of being away on retreat. And this is the Sunday Sounds of Dhamma program, as you probably know. So that means that we'll have about a half an hour of meditation, half an hour or so of Dhamma sharing, and time for questions and reflections and the dedication of merit at the end. And before all that, I just want to make a couple of announcements. So let's see. Next on the schedule, so currently registration is open for an online participation. I think all the residential participation is full, but online participation in a retreat that is happening in April at Barry Center for Buddhist Studies. We're going to have this really interesting full panel of teachers over one weekend, teachers from different Buddhist traditions coming together to talk about the path of liberation and the liberated mind. What is the nature of the liberated mind? And that, again, is I think it's a 2.5-day event or 2-day event. And you can go to their website, Barre, Barre, Center for Buddhist Studies, and sign up there. It's there in Massachusetts. And what else is happening? Oh, lots of things. There's also an Introduction to Buddhism class online through San Francisco Zen Center. That is in May, I believe, but the registration is also open for that now. And that is what I call the whirlwind tour of Buddhism, all of the 3 major branches of Buddhism, early Buddhism, Mahayana, and Vajrayana. A bit of the history, a bit of similarities and differences across Buddhist traditions, with a particular emphasis on the contributions of women. That's an online class. I believe it's a 5-week class, if I recall correctly. And you can also sign up for that at their site, San Francisco Zen Center, sfzc.org. All right. So those are the next couple of things on the calendar, besides the fact that now we will be back to the regular weekly schedule. So folks are really warmly welcome to come and sit in person or to attend Thursday night Sutta contemplation, which is really a lovely sort of informal conversation around how the teachings of the Buddha land for you. Very, very nice way to kind of step into that aspect of the practice. So those are the announcements for today. And so we're going to go ahead and begin the meditation. This morning I thought we would try a meditation on the sense fields. So getting to know this body as a way of experiencing the world. How do we use this body as an instrument of experience and practice with that? And then also a bit about the mind and the role of the mind toward the end of this meditation. So can please, everyone, please mute your mics if you haven't already done so. Hola Claudia, bienvenida. Hay interpretación en español simultáneo si desean. Eso se puede elegir bajo el globito. Gracias a Claudia, nuestra amiga en Dharma. Mm. So establishing your meditation posture, just perhaps starting with some gentle movement of the body. Releasing whatever tension you can let go of at this time. And sensing the weight of the body on your seat. And relaxing the belly. Really allowing the body to continue to settle right here in this place at this time. And moving the attention slowly up the torso. Relaxing the muscles around the chest and the ribs. Just allowing plenty of room for the natural rhythms of the breath. And moving still further up the body. And softening the eyes. And softening the mouth. Now turning the attention to the sensations of touch in one hand, just receiving the sensations of touch moment by moment. Staying curious about the sensations of touch in the hand. And perhaps checking in also on the tone of the experience. Is it pleasant or neutral or unpleasant? The sensation of touch in the hand. And then a shift to turn the attention to receiving sensations of hearing. aware of sounds arising in awareness. No need to strain or reach out for sound. The sensations of hearing just arrive, they are received. And noticing that sensations of hearing also have a tone to them. They are unpleasant or pleasant or neutral. And now either with the eyes closed or the eyes open, you can shift the attention to visual sensations. Just receiving visual sensations of each moment. Staying curious about visual sensations as they arise in awareness. And now the final sense field is mind as an organ of sense. So turning to mental activity, to thoughts as mere sensations arising in awareness. Just receiving mental activity moment by moment, as sensations. And noticing that thoughts also carry a feeling tone of pleasant or neutral or unpleasant. And that brings us to the end of the meditation today. Not sure if you could hear the bell. My settings are off, I think. I'll try to fix that next time. All right. Beautiful. Okay, so it's time for the Dhamma talk. But there is one more announcement that I wanted to make, which is good because now everybody's gathered together. A few more people have joined. And that is that next Sunday, instead of this program, the Sunday Sounds program, we will be having a precept ceremony. So Derek and Richard will be taking their Bodhisattva precepts, 16 Bodhisattva precepts, the ethical vows of the Zen Buddhist tradition. And that will happen here next week at 9:15 at this usual time. We will do our best to stream it for everyone. And if you want to attend in person, you do need to RSVP. So you can either put that in the chat at some point during this program, or you can email us through the website. There's a contact form at the bottom of the website. It says contact Dhammadīpā or contact Dassanaya. We only have room for about 9 or 10 people, in addition to the guests that are coming for the folks who are taking the vows. So, but it's always a very joyous occasion and a very important occasion when people make this commitment to an ethical and life informed by Dhamma. So beautiful. So now I'm going to share screen and bring up the chant of the homage and refuges, so that we can chant together if you would like to do that. Namo tassa bhagavato arahato samma sambuddhassa. Namo tassa bhagavato arahato samma sambuddhassa. Namo tassa bhagavato arahato samma sambuddhassa. Buddhang dhammang sanghang namasami. So I have a poem that I'd like to share with you that will hopefully lead us to the theme of the talk today. And it's a poem by Mary Oliver. Mary Oliver has passed now, but she's a contemporary American woman who wrote this poem not too long ago, 2015 or so, maybe. In any event, it was very popular for a while, and so after, I got kind of sick of it. But now, not having heard it for a while, I came back to it and really appreciate it again. And so I want to share this poem with you. And for folks who are on the retreat, this is going to be a version, a slightly different version of this particular sharing around this poem than the one we had a few days ago. So here it is. It's called The Summer Day. The Summer Day by Mary Oliver. Who made the world? Who made the swan and the black bear? Who made the grasshopper? This grasshopper, I mean, the one who has flung herself out of the grass, the one who is eating sugar out of my hand, who is moving her jaws back and forth instead of up and down, who is gazing around with her enormous and complicated eyes. Now she lifts her pale forearms and thoroughly washes her face. Now she snaps her wings open and floats away. I don't know exactly what a prayer is. I do know how to pay attention, how to fall down into the grass, how to kneel down in the grass, how to be idle and blessed, how to stroll through the fields, which is what I have been doing all day. Tell me, What else should I have done? Doesn't everything die at last and too soon? Tell me, what is it you plan to do with your one wild and precious life? So, what I really appreciate about this poem is that she starts out with these very big, unanswerable questions, right? Who made the world? And then she moves into this very detailed, very mindful description of her encounter with the grasshopper. Very, very clearly observing this being. Mhm. And she says, I know how to pay attention. And we can tell that she knows how to pay attention by how she's writing about this experience. Mhm. And then she gives a little plug for non-doing, for relaxation, for being in touch with nature, moving at a very human, easeful pace. And then she says something, there's a turn, right? And she says, doesn't everything die at last and too soon? Ah, right. So dukkha, right? The truth of dukkha, of suffering in our lives, is the context for everything that came before. Now she's given us the context. What is it that makes this life so precious, so fascinating, so fleeting, that evokes in us those big questions? And that search for meaning in the smallest detail. It's the knowing that we don't have forever, that nothing has forever, that she too will die. Uh-huh. So then she asks us this question, this very, very important question. What is it you plan to do with your one wild and precious life? Uh-huh. Because it's so easy to get pulled off in one direction or another. Human beings, we have all sorts of aspirations and plans and wants and needs and commitments, hopes. And in the Dhamma, this is also an important question that's put to us. Because right intention is the second factor on the path. We call it the Noble Eightfold Path. Just 8 things, many thousands and thousands of teachings, but just the 8 factors of the path. So we have Sammaditthi, in Pali, Sammaditthi and Sammasankappa. So that's right view and right intention. And those are the first 2 factors, and those are said to be part of the wisdom aspect of the path. So intention is about wisdom if we use it well, is informed by wisdom if we use it well. Mm. And then you have the next three aspects of the path, or the aspects of ethics, samma vaca, samma kammanta, samma ajiva. That's right speech, right action, right livelihood. And then the final three, so those three are the ethics. The final three are the aspect of meditation, which is maybe the one that many of us are most familiar with, right? So you have samma vayama, samma sati, samma samadhi, which is right effort, right mindfulness, and right concentration. So this aspect of intention is a bridge between right view, meaning our understanding of a skillful, wise way of understanding the world, and our understanding of this life as a vehicle for that, as an instrument for that. Then intention is the bridge between that and putting it into action as ethics and as meditation, right? My dear, one of my dear Dhamma teachers, Zenke Blanche Hartman, used to quote Katagiri Roshi, one of the Japanese masters who came over here actually initially to assist Suzuki Roshi in establishing San Francisco Zen Center. And he used to say, I'm going to paraphrase this, he used to say something like, yes, when you understand, then naturally you want to sit down. It's like, whoa, right, sit down. That's how I always took that phrase. Oh yeah, when you get it, then naturally you just want to sit down. But it also means, I think he also meant more directly meditation, right? When you understand something about the nature of life and the nature of the way the world works, and how to think about that, how to be with that, then meditation makes more sense. And meditation comes naturally. So this question of what we plan to do with our lives is a big one. And the traditional teachings around this are that there are two aspects of it. One aspect, which is, you could say, the more practical side of things, of setting down ill will, setting down anger and hatred, and setting down harm, the intention to harm yourself or others. And renunciation here, I would say, best understood as something like being willing to let things go when it's time for them to go. So these are the kind of practical, or what is understood as like the mundane type of right intention. And that's not to minimize it. I mean, that in itself is a very rigorous practice. That's a very demanding practice. If we're sincere about it, and if we are clear and observing our own hearts. And I want to say that too, that sometimes there can be a little bit of a bite to the Dhamma. Sometimes there can be, it can be hard to see what we see, or to hear from a teacher something that they're seeing in us, or to experience the consequences of things that we've done. Sometimes there can be a little bit of a bite to it. But I would suggest that that is also something that's also something to practice with, that we can take up this, even those kinds of moments, with a sincere attitude uh, of learning, and of seeing it all as part of the path, as part of what we are practicing with. So there's a funny story I want to tell you about that. Some of you have already heard it, but as my good friend Elizabeth likes to say, es bueno repetir. It's always good to repeat things. You learn something new, or you just are reminded of a teaching. So many years ago, roughly speaking, about 20 years ago, no, maybe like 18, I was in Japan training with Sekkei Harada Roshi, my ordination master and root teacher. And he knew that I like sweets. Roshi knew that I have a little bit of a sweet tooth. He did too. And so he had just received a box of mochi. So what is mochi? Mochi are these little pounded rice sweets. And they pound the rice until it's like a little sticky, sweet, chewy kind of thing. And then you usually put a little kind of sweet bean paste or sweet fruit paste on the inside. And so you make these little rice treats out of them. And somebody had given him a box of small mochis. It's kind of like the equivalent of, getting that assorted box of chocolates. For Japanese people, it's like that. So he got one of those, and he and his attendant were standing there. And I happened to be walking by, and Roshi said, let her have one. Let her pick one from the box. Brand new box of mochi. So I said, oh, yeah, lovely. So I picked out a mochi, and I started to walk back to my room. And, I like sweets. So I didn't even wait to get back to my room. I just popped it in my mouth as I was walking back. And then his attendant comes running up behind me and is like, hey, Roshi says, give it back. And I'm standing there with the mochi in my mouth. And I said to her, it's not going to happen. No way. And she was amazed. She was just like, what? You didn't even wait to get back to your room, which is like, less than 20 yards from here, to eat the mochi. And what is that if not Roshi just messing with me, right? Because in Japanese culture, to give someone a gift, or even to give someone a little bit of food like that, and then to ask for it back, that is unheard of. That's the height of rudeness. You would never do that even to your worst enemy, right? But Roshi did that as a pointer to me, right? To say, hey, look at that little bit of greed. Look at that little bit of sense desire. Look at that clinging, right? Look at that. A little poke, right? So, different thoughts go through your mind. I thought, oh no, or do I have to buy him a whole box of mochi now? Or, you know, but then, I thought to myself, no, actually, it's not about that, right? It's not about that. It's him doing his job to observe and to help me to observe my path. What's going on with me? Where are these places that I can practice? Where are the things that are sticky for me? In this case, in the literal sense, as well as in the figurative sense. So when you feel that little bit of a bite of the Dhamma, however you encounter that, I would say, think about it, check it out, right? What's the lesson here? The point is not to break you down or to criticize or to, make you less of a human. That's not the teaching of the Dhamma, if that's what's happening. The Dhamma is about being absolutely crystal clear about what it is to be human and how this human life is demonstrating the truth of everything. So have a good look. Have a good look. And bring it all onto the path. The pleasant and the unpleasant, the things you're confused about and the things you're clear about. The ideal and the not so ideal. Just bring it all. Because without honesty, the path is unwalkable. You cannot do this. You cannot do this. Indeed, that's why certain kinds of lying are grounds for being ejected from the Sangha. If you're an ordained person, you can be asked to give back your robes for lying. So really bring this human life and ask yourself, we have this beautiful human capacity for intention, for aspiration. And some people would say, yeah, like occasionally you'll hear this other beautiful teaching, which is, a Buddhist has no hope or doesn't try to hope for a different future. I would say that's if you have no suffering in your life. If you have suffering in your life, then there is still room for right intention. There is still room for right intention. And the final factor that I will throw in here, and this is probably not good to bring it up this late in the talk, but oh well, we'll see. Maybe there are some questions around it. The final reason why intention is so important is because it has to do with kamma. Kamma in Pali, or karma in Sanskrit, is this principle, right? This principle that is at work. And the Buddha distinguished himself, actually. His understanding was very clearly different from other folks in his cultural and geographical space at that time. Because some folks believe that karma happens and karmic results come from everything that you do or don't do in your life, or from everything that's happening around us even, or that it was only based on things that happened in the past. There were different views about karma that were happening. But the Buddha said very clearly, no. his understanding is that karma is activated by intention. That the way that we walk this path is by using our capacity for intention to have karma sort of work on for our benefit to bring together positive conditions in our life. But no matter what you do, good or bad intentions, beneficial or unbeneficial, intention matters. Intention actually activates future results. So you can put it to work for the good, or you can put it to work for the bad. Or you can try to ignore it and see how that goes. That's another option, I suppose. So right intention. So the intention, the way that we understand the world, the way that we understand something about how our lives really are, how our minds and bodies really work, the way that we understand suffering or why there is difficulty, all of that should inform what we aspire to do with our lives. Because that aspiration, that intention, then gets expressed, right? As ethics, as meditation, as a path that leads us right back here to clear and knowing hearts. So that is my reflection for today. And I think we have plenty of time for some comments or questions or your reflections. Yes, Lisa.
Um, I just would like to say that I've been, I guess, wondering about Sangha lately. And, something happened. I had like a little medical problem, so I was unable to go on a retreat. And I didn't take it too well. So I kind
Right.
of started falling down this rabbit hole. But before I got to
Mhm.
the bottom of the hole, I guess, I reached out my hand to Brad and he grabbed it. And so he has been directing me on getting out of that hole. So I'm out the hole. So, but I had to reach out my hand to someone, and Brad grabbed my hand and directed me
Mm.
out of that. And, he's been giving me tips, advice. Um, and and so what is Sangha? Um, Sangha doesn't have to be a million people. It was that one person that was there and that was willing, my
Mhm.
Sangha mate, my, spirit, my spiritual friend that was there and grabbed my hand. And I miss you so much, Dhammadīpā, and I miss everybody who wasn't here. We had a smaller group. Brad led the groups, and he did a fantastic job. So while you all was
Mhm.
meditating, I guess we were also and we were also doing it over here. So
Mhm.
I mean, we wasn't together, but we was a whole. And
Mhm.
so I've said it before, I like to thank everyone, and I do appreciate you, Brad.
Mm.
But because that's so large to me. I am the type of person that likes to be giving and generous, and I kind of don't see it a lot. And so sometimes I feel small, or I feel different, or I feel like it's something wrong with me. But no, there's so many people out here if you look and open up your eyes. And so, like you was saying before, Dhammadīpā, if something's ever going on, that I think Fred Rogers said, Mr. Rogers said, look around. There's always a helper. You
Mhm.
just look. If you need to look, if you want to look, someone's there. So thank you so much. Do appreciate it.
Yeah. Thank you, Lisa. Yes, and deep bows to Brad. I was hearing a little bit here and there about what a beautiful job he was doing, and I'm so glad that you had the benefit of his wisdom and that you still had a chance to get together and practice together. It's lovely. It's lovely. Yeah. Claudia, ¿querías decir algo? ¿O sí? Te quito del intérprete entonces, por un momentico, ¿no? Deja ver si puedo, porque hoy estoy realmente...
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, so I was thinking about this intention practice, and I remember a teacher that told me that like the very, very intimate part of you is the intention, because you're the only one that knows it.
Mm.
And it's like where the practice needs to start. It's like where it starts. And I think of that here and now all the time, like being honest with your intention, and just you only know, nobody else.
Mm.
So I just
Beautiful.
share that. Yeah.
Yeah, thank you
That
for
has been very
sharing.
useful.
Yes.
So I'm gonna translate it. Can you put
Okay.
on the
Está
thank you.
bien. Yes, I really appreciate that reflection. Intention is very personal, very intimate, it's private. Only each one of us knows truly what our intention is. And for example, like taking refuge also, this is why what it means to different people is very different in their hearts. What does it mean to take refuge? Yeah. Beautiful. Other folks have anything that they want to share? Or yes, Brad. Let's see. I
So,
saw your hand. Okay.
yeah, I'm thinking of the intimacy between intention and right speech. Actually, earlier today, I said some kind of bad words about free speech because what passes for free speech can so often be so hurtful, damaging, violent, uh, and it's a question that doesn't even get addressed if you just stay at the surface of things. To see how your own words can impact yourself coming out of you. and then how they land with others, and what the then the karmic results of that. You know? And I mean, all you have to do is, watch the news or spend 10 minutes on the internet, and you need 2 days of debriefing just to come back, bring the nervous system back to some state of relaxation, peace, and clarity.
Yeah.
So, free speech, if free speech results in a hellish mind state, it's hardly free. And I'll just leave it at that.
Mm-hmm. Yes. Yeah. I appreciate the reflection, Brad, and I have to agree. I think that so much hostility and divisiveness and judgment and just a lot of very, very harmful speech happening in the public sphere and in the private sphere as well. But I think, if anything, what I've tried to share with people about that is, you can say anything without anger. You can say something very, very, clearly disapproving of someone else's behavior or of needing a change or of, being of a different opinion without the anger. And I really would like to see more people know that or be trained in that. And the other side of the coin, the debriefing or the detoxing from our exposure to media, I will say that also came up in retreat. And I was where some of you know that Ashley Messenger, who's part of our Sangha here and attends various things, and she actually works for National Public Radio, NPR, and she's going to offer a workshop at some point in the next, who knows what, several months probably. We'll get it on the calendar at some point soon. She's going to offer a workshop on how to skillfully be consuming media from a Buddhist perspective. So I hope that we'll have even more words of wisdom around that in the future. But yeah, it can be very hard to take in images or words that are clearly intended to be, harmful. And if you find yourself in that situation where you don't know how to detox or how to attend to what comes up for you around that, then I would say also just limit your exposure as best you can. That's also a skillful thing to do. Believe me that if there is news you need to know, you will find out. When I lived at Tassajara, we were down there in the valley, in the Ventana wilderness, out in the middle of nowhere. I think it's about 2.5 hours drive to the next closest gas station and about 3 hours to the next closest town. And we would go for long periods of time without any news. But then something would happen, and we would find out. People would be saying, oh, you need to know that, XYZ thing has happened in the world, or that there's a fire coming, or, the things you need to know, you will find out. So don't worry about that part.
I wanted to say something. Okay.
Yes, Carolyn.
Yeah. I wanted to say something in appreciation of this expression, the bite. I really appreciate the bite of the clear seeing of something about yourself And it can be like, ooh, oh, but there can also really be appreciation because I'm seeing the truth. I'm seeing how these things work. And I don't have to have a big self. Like, there's no, my little dictum, there's no self in the problem, there's no self in the solution. But the seeing can have that, like, ooh, bite. And so yesterday, traveling back here to Austin from West Virginia, I had the pleasure, and thank you, Kelly, who was here, for giving me a ride to the airport. That was so generous, so lovely. And I had the pleasure of conversation. And it was kind of a street, like, conversation to the airport. And then I got on the plane and I sat next to this young man from Germany who was making electric vehicle drivetrains. And anyway, lovely conversation. But also this opportunity to see when you start talking after being silent. And I know a lot of us are familiar, like, little ego rushes come up or something, or you just, like, I can't describe how exactly, I can't be precise about it, but just seeing after the fact, oh, um, I got caught up in myself there, and I kind of lost the thread of how can I be helpful to this person, or what is needed in this situation. Just intoxication, I guess, is the word, or something, or meanness. But instead of what I think is my usual response is like, oh no, I should have stayed silent. What was I doing? It was like, oh, I can see it. Wonderful teaching. There it is. So
Yes.
the bite is good. Thank you.
Thank you so much for that reflection, Carolyn. I really appreciate that. Yeah. Because just as you're saying, the part of the bite is that you become aware, you have a perception that you didn't have before. Right? So in a way, it's a thing to celebrate. It's like, oh yeah, right. Now I can see that thing. Now, and so, I'm often talking about the way in which the Dhamma is helping us to grow our ability to perceive truth, to perceive reality, both in the physical sense, but also in these ways that you're talking about there, Carolyn. So, yeah, those keen observations, that's it right there. That's the growing edge, right? That's the freedom, the insight that opens things up for us. Yeah, sweet. Right. Yes, Julia. How to unmute you? I don't think I can do it from this end. Oh, there you go.
It's interesting, going back to what Brad was saying about detoxing, I guess. I'm currently trying very, specifically to do that. I've always been very cynical, which unfortunately was passed down, and I keep passing it down. And there's a song, I'm sure you all heard of it, called What a Wonderful World. And I've always disliked that song. Okay, cynic, right? I mean, a cynic cannot say, "What a wonderful world," and I could pick it apart. I could do a but for almost every line in the song. But in addition to the fact that its most popular version is Louis Armstrong, who is singing in the midst of a lot of racial discrimination. So see there, but I've decided to play it over and over and over again. And it's my means of changing my definitely negative fear, cynicism, whatever it is, because anyway, which I think are valid. I'm not disagreeing the validity of it, but I'm going to keep playing that song. And I love music, and music can be some of the most healing whatever's available in the world. Music just sort of can carry it through. So anyway, it's interesting that you bring that up. Anyway, that's my effort. I don't know if anything like that. It helps me a lot because I listen to the words and I'm saying, oh yeah, that is wonderful.
Yeah.
Rather than saying, but.
Yeah, I think you're bringing up a very important point there, Julia. Thank you for the reflection. I think that this part of what can be helpful is to try to bring some balance, right? To try to bring some balance to our perception, that we are not only perceiving the negative or the harmful or the judgment about things, but also perceiving the beneficial and the beautiful and things that are neutral, right? Our ultimately our effort in Dhamma is to be able to attend to all sorts of phenomena. And if we get too drowned by the suffering side or the harm or the anger that's we might feel or overwhelm, then that's also a one-sided view. That's also a view that's a little bit out of balance. And so what I hear in your beautiful use of that song is this effort to bring some more balance to your experience. Okay. Maybe time for one more question or reflection. No, it looks like we have arrived at the natural ending of things here. So again, if you are interested in, next week, the Sunday Sounds program will be actually not the Sunday Sounds program, it will be a Jukai ceremony. It will be a Bodhisattva precept ceremony. Everyone is still welcome to attend, and you might actually learn something about what are the precepts of the Soto Zen Japanese school of Buddhism, or how those things are held. If you want to attend in person, then please RSVP for that, so we'll save you a seat. And Dana and Joso, I think it's time for the announcement.
Thank you, Dhammadīpā. The practice of giving and receiving has been a part of Buddhism and continues today. Giving to Dassanaya Buddhist Community supports Dhammadīpā, our guiding teacher, the physical location of the vihara, and allows us to continue to offer Buddhist teachings in support of the awakening of all beings. Our support pages are on the website under the Support tab, Donate, Volunteer, or Offer Materials. Thank you.
Thank you. All right, everyone, yes. Dedicating the merits, the beautiful, beneficial, bright karmic results of our practice here together today, that we and all beings might be free from every form of mental and physical suffering, that we and all beings might be released from delusion and ignorance, that we might come to know ourselves as wisdom, as compassion. That all beings might know the truths of their lives. And the peace and harmony of those truths. By the power of the Buddhas, the Dhamma, and the Sangha, and each one's efforts, may all beings be liberated. All right, friends. Beautiful to see you. Take good care. See you soon.